Right before the year ended, we stumbled upon a collection of analog horrors that all seemed to have fit a specific theme: fairy tales. We had the horror twist on the Little Red Riding Hood and Alice in Wonderland, even though Alice in Wonderland on its own is terrifying enough. However, these horror takes on these old stories actually coincide with their original interpretations a lot more than one may think. Just look up any early interpretations of your favorite Disney princess, and I'm sure you will be in for a surprise. But today we actually have some new fairy tales that have gotten the analog horror treatment, and one story that has gotten a continuation. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we got a sequel to the Little Red Riding Hood short. If you saw the last video we did on fairy tales, you would know this short ended in such a way I'm not sure a sequel is even possible, but sure enough, here it is. We also have the Three Little Pigs and the Ugly Duckling. Since the Three Little Pigs analog horror is made by the same creator as the Little Red Riding Hood, I'm curious to see if the wolf will carry over as the antagonist and wreak even more havoc on the lives of the forest. As always, be sure to check out the original videos to support the creators before diving in over here for us to brave the horrors as a group. Now without further ado, let's equip ourselves with some sturdy protective gear and open up the first page of this fairy tale book of nightmares.
But before I let you get too far, just wanted to say if you're new here and enjoy what you're watching, be sure to hit all those neat buttons down below as it really helps support the channel. And if you want to see more, be sure to follow us on Instagram and Letterboxd. Alright, now you can pass through.
Little Red Riding Hood, where have you been? For those who haven't seen it, I'll catch you up to speed on the last entry. Basically, Little Red Riding Hood goes out to her grandma's house to deliver some candy. As most of us know, she ends up encountering an evil wolf during her journey. Once she makes it to her grandmother's house, she is shocked to find that her grandmother had already been brutally mutilated by the wolf, and Little Red was next. It didn't end there, however, as the wolf then went on to hunt down Little Red Riding Hood's mother and finish her off as well. Now you understand why a part 2 is so confusing to me, considering literally every other character died in the last one. But who knows what lies in store for us? Our entry begins and we slowly pan over to see the corpse of Little Red Riding Hood's mother, followed by what's left of Little Red herself, and then the grandma, who sits in her chair completely torn up. Seems like this sequel may be taking place immediately where the last one left off. The screen cuts out, and an image of this man comes up on screen, with text that just asks, "Where were you?" I have a feeling I know who this is supposed to be. See, in the Brothers Grimm version of this story, a hunter swoops in and manages to save the day by brutally slicing open the wolf's stomach and miraculously pulling Little Red and her grandma out alive. But in this story, the hunter was nowhere to be found. The question is then asked, when did it all happen? When do we all die? The name Hansel and Gretel.
So, Gretel and Hansel?
Nein! Hansel und Gretel!
The name Hansel then appears. Is that the name of our hunter? I wasn't able to find any official name for him anywhere, so perhaps this is him. We then get one last message that just says, "Kill the wolf." The screen cuts out yet again, and we end up in found footage format, seemingly in the eyes of the hunter. The hunter appears to be aware of all the atrocities that have been committed by this wolf, and it looks like we are still here during the week of the incidents. As the hunter, now known as Hansel, makes his way through the woods, he stumbles upon what looks to be a dead chicken. Then not far off, we see another dead animal, except this one has a message for Hansel.
He's not just a wolf, you need to kill him, he has our souls. Save me, please.
Sure enough, the wolf was certainly behind Hansel for a second. He proceeds to make his way further through the woods, heavily concerned that he is hallucinating considering the talking animal. We cut ahead a little bit and we have found ourselves at one of the homes. Hansel goes inside and he is definitely prepared. He looks around the house until he ends up discovering a bad smell. The source is none other than the dead mom. Hansel ends up finding her final note that just says, "I don't know how long I'll hide. I feel him approaching. You will be next." Once Hansel puts the note down, we quickly see that the wolf has been watching us through the window, and Hansel quickly shows us that he means business. He wastes no time blasting away at the wolf, but this fight isn't over yet as the wolf is quick to appear behind Hansel, and Hansel is stuck in his grasp. He ends up getting free and runs off. He gets a couple good shots in, but it just doesn't seem to be doing any good. all Hansel can do is stare directly at the wolf, who tells us that bullets are useless against him and that it's too late to save them. Hansel makes the last-minute decision to make a run for it. He makes it out of the house, but the wolf is on his tail. Hansel continues to run through the woods, but every time he stops, the wolf is just right on him. He begins to look for a good place to hide and ends up finding Grandma's house. But as we can see in this top-down view, the wolf knows exactly where he is and says that Hansel will end up just like Little Red and her family. Hansel has barricaded himself in the Grandma's house, hoping that the wolf can't get in. There comes a brief moment that the wolf's repeated banging on the door stops, but all he did was find another way in by smashing through the window. We can hear as his footsteps get closer and closer. Hansel ends up running into Little Red's dead body and is rightfully horrified. He ends up opening up the door positioned behind her, thinking that it's a good place to hide. But sure enough, on the other side is Grandma's corpse. Hansel fears that he is going to end up in the same position. And sure enough, the wolf is already here, standing behind Grandma. Hansel is truly screwed. The wolf proceeds to brutally roast Hansel, calling him a failure and that he deserves what happens to him next, which is quite brutal to say the least. Hansel, just like everybody else in this brutal world, has had his face disfigured by the wolf, and now he sits and eternally watches as Little Red and her family's dead bodies spin around him, the people he was unable to save. Something I forgot to mention is that the dead animal near the beginning said that the wolf doesn't just kill people, he steals their souls, so they are truly damned for eternity. The last thing we see in this entry is the wolf flashing on screen, with text that just says, "You are mine." That was definitely an interesting take on our villainous wolf from the story. Instead of being just a very mean wolf, he's basically unstoppable. He's impervious to bullets and somehow is able to steal people's souls. I thought after Hansel managed to get those very good shots in, that it was game over. There's no way the wolf could have survived all that. But sure enough, he isn't some ordinary wolf. In fact, I don't even know what he could be, but a wolf is certainly not the answer. The Three Little Pigs. Our story opens up and it looks like this will be told in the form of an old Windows point-and-click game. We hit the play button and the story begins. We are introduced to our three little pigs, and I'm sure most of us know this story. Well, the first pig goes off and builds his home out of straw. The second builds his home out of sticks, and the third builds his out of bricks. When all of a sudden, the big bad wolf comes over to the first pig's straw house. Except in this story, our screen ends up cutting out before he can huff and puff.
A big bad wolf came to the straw house and
Something to take note of, however, is the fact that this wolf has what looks like bullet holes in the same spots as the last wolf, confirming that this is the same character. We end up cutting back to our point and click, and our mouse clicks on our first pig. The pig tells us that he needs to protect himself, and asks us what material he builds his house with based on the story. Well, little pig, in the story you build your house out of straw, which is a very stupid idea, so you should instead build your house with bricks to protect yourself. But since that isn't how the story goes, the mouse goes and picks straw. The pig foolishly builds his house out of straw, thinking that it will protect him from the big bad wolf. The nighttime rolls around and our pig heads inside to hide. However, we see as the wolf approaches. From inside the house, we can hear as the wolf knocks on the front door. The pig stays quiet and hidden, hoping not to be noticed. The wolf demands to be let in, but he says that he won't destroy his house, and that they can just be friends. Don't fall for his trick, pig. Luckily, the pig stands his ground and says he won't let him in. However, considering the house is made out of straw, the wolf manages to break the door down pretty easily, and he gets his evil hands on our poor pig. We see as our pig has been brutally murdered by this true villain. We occasionally hop between our lighthearted telling of the story and the dark variation. In the lighthearted cartoon, the wolf blew the house down, and the pig was able to run off to his brother's house. But we know what actually happened. But as expected, the wolf now makes his way to the pig who made his house out of sticks. The mouse selects the pig, and we are brought to a very familiar scene. The pig tells us that he also needs to protect himself, and asks us the material he should build his house with according to the story. Once again, I'm going to say brick is the best idea, but our mouse tries to select straw again, which is the stupidest thing you could do. The mouse then tries 2 more times to hit the straw. They just want our pig to be killed. Yet in a strange turn of events, the straw ends up turning into this man. This face that looks like it has had a wolf encounter. As it turns out, what he is saying is reversed audio, and once flipped, translates to, "Save me, please help us, save us, help." This is very likely Hansel, his soul trying to call out for help. After all that, the mouse finally hits the correct option, sticks. Not what I would have gone with, but whatever. The pig then builds his stick house and prays the wolf doesn't find him. The night rolls around and our second pig has gone inside to hide. But once again, the wolf is back for more. He knocks on the door and our pig wakes up, asking who is there. The wolf tries to disguise himself as his brother, but the pig isn't falling for it. He asks to show himself at the window, and sure enough, he shows himself. The wolf brutally flaps his brother's decapitated head in front of the window before smashing it and breaking in. The wolf appears behind our second pig, and we are met with this seizure-inducing scene. We're then met with this disturbing frame of the pig just hanging in the middle of the frame, with text just asking, "Am I dead? Where is my brother? I want to see him." Since this is the same wolf as before, we know that he isn't really killing his victims, but stealing their souls and stashing them away God knows where. So these pigs are experiencing a nightmare straight out of hell. It's now time for the fake, light-hearted story to try and convince us that the pig managed to survive and fled to the third brother's house. But we are about to witness the true events. When the mouse clicks on the third brother, we are met with a message from beyond the grave.
Save us, brother. You are your last hope. Burn yourself. Your house next to the wolf. Sacrifice yourself for us and for all the victims he made.
That's a big ask, but if our third pig carries out this wish, he will be considered the true hero of this story. We load into the story and are met with our third pig, who once again tells us he needs protection and has to kill the wolf. Finally, my time to shine. Use bricks and all your worries will be gone. We even see as the straw and stick options are replaced by images of his dead brothers, and text that just says, "Sacrifice yourself." Truly some graphic stuff. But we finally chose brick, but this pig is in need of more materials for the plan to commence. He asks us for help to find the gasoline, which I mean, come on, it's right behind you. The next on our list is to find the lighter, which is just right there. The nighttime finally rolls around, and our third pig decides it's time to head inside. Sure enough, the wolf is back, unsure of what he's in for. He knocks on the door, and our third pig knows immediately who it is. The plan is set in motion, and our pig yells out to the wolf to come and get him. The wolf breaks in the door, but our pig is ready. The wolf tries to approach, but the pig throws the lighter to the ground. Text appears that just says, "Die, you bastard, and let us rest." The whole house erupts in flames, with the wolf right along with it. And unfortunately, our pig character as well. But we see as even Little Red and her family's souls have been set free along with the little pigs. The wolf's body falls to the floor, still burning in flames. We then get quite the interesting twist. We see what looks to be a regular person come on screen, and I have a feeling this is our wolf, and he has a very revealing message for us. I have been corrupted. The witch did this, for my thirst for revenge. I wanted to have a happy ending, but what's left of me is to burn eternally in hell for my actions. But I don't regret anything. I would kill more. I really like this. Gretel, go after the witch and free your brother. Hansel's soul is not saved like the others. And then our scene begins to fade out. We then see Little Red's family and the little pigs finally able to rest in peace. But to end off this entry, we see the wolf's burnt corpse on the ground, when out of nowhere a feminine figure appears and takes them away, likely the witch the wolf was talking about. What a fascinating twist on our wolf villain. That would explain the borderline immortality. Another interesting reveal was that our hunter Hansel is in fact the real Hansel, as in Gretel's brother, Hansel and Gretel. You know, I had a slight suspicion when I saw the name in the last entry. Hansel isn't a very common name, but I still just chalked it up to coincidence. Little did I know I was right all along. I should have known, considering it seems like this world is blending together different fairy tales and making one big world. Kinda like Shrek, or Hoodwinked, but with a terrifying twist. I love the idea that this wolf antagonist transferred over between stories. In a ton of fairy tale works, a wolf is frequently the main threat, so to have it be one wolf that managed to terrorize across a bunch of stories is really cool to see. But our journey through fairy tale analog horrors is not over yet, as there is one left for us to uncover. The Ugly Duckling. Our entry begins and our title immediately starts to glitch out, changing the name to A Beautiful Swan created by you. Me? We're then introduced to the mother swan. She laid her eggs, and to her surprise, one of her offspring was born different. It was a duckling. All of the siblings ruthlessly harassed the duckling. Even the mother looked at the duckling with disgust, disowning the duckling and pecking him away from the nest. She straight up calls him a freak and says he will never be beautiful. Our screen occasionally distorts to show us just how menacing this family looks to the duckling's eyes. A vile and disgusting creature forever cursed to walk the earth as an ugly mutt. That's just diabolical right there. This went on for a long time, the duckling constantly getting its differences pointed out and made fun of. These siblings are truly the worst. Then one day, all of a sudden, the ugly duckling vanished. And of course, the family basically celebrated, happy that the duckling was gone, claiming he tainted the family. Then we go through a big time skip. All the siblings are now full-grown swans, and the mother tells them that it is their time to have a place of their own, and to have their own families. The siblings say goodbye to their mother, and they swim down the lake. During their swim, they begin to reminisce on the past. The swan named Sylvie actually looks back feeling bad about their behavior towards the ugly duckling, saying it's a shame that they left them. But the other swan named Simon retains his disdain towards the duckling, claiming he just looked hideous and that it was a blessing that he decided to leave. Sylvie still stands her ground and says that Simon is being horrible. However, if you look in the background, you can see this strange figure perk up in the back, and it looks like whatever it is after Simon and Sylvie. Looks like the ugly duckling is out getting their revenge.
Mom, praising your coat has gotten to your head. It's getting dark. Where is everyone?
Many seasons pass, and the mother swan believed it was finally time to reunite with her family. Oddly enough to her though, they never bothered to visit her. I wonder why. So instead, she is off along the river to find them. She still finds it strange that she hadn't heard from any of her kids. She ends up coming across a barn that she remembers Simon mentioning. She approaches the door, wondering if he himself has had any kids. She calls out to Simon that she is here to visit, but there is no response. With the door slightly left open, the mother swan heads inside, and she ends up witnessing a horrifying scene.
Every day I woke up, and every day I was reminded that I am inadequate. Good luck trying to keep your perfect family. You want to know what I've done? I think you know. I have become beautiful.
The ugly duckling has killed all of her kids, and it looks like they have taken pieces from each of them and applied it to themselves. Truly a twisted take on the story. To end off this entry, our ugly duckling has some final words for his mother before ending us off.
No one came looking for me when I disappeared. And now, no one will come looking for you.
I really liked that dark take on this classic story. In the original variations that I've found, the bullying did not last as long as it did here, and it all turns out to be a big misunderstanding anyways. The ugly duckling, instead of going back and killing his family, decides it would be best to instead kill himself by throwing himself at a pack of swans. But as it turns out, he himself is a swan, so the family accepts them as one of their own, and the ending is much happier, much different than what we just watched here. I really enjoyed all that we have covered today in this video. The continuation of the Little Red Riding Hood was a surprise I definitely wasn't expecting. I thought that the Three Little Pigs was going to be a one-off story, not the third entry in a long narrative about a wolf terrorizing different fairy tales. At least now the wolf is dead, and the world has nothing to worry about, except Gretel. I imagine we can expect an entry following Gretel on her hunt for that witch, the only person who can free Hansel's soul. However, the witch did pick up the wolf's body and take him away. I wonder what sinister plan she has in store with that. It was also nice to get a different tale with the ugly duckling, where it turns into a revenge plot against the family that bullied them. If only the analog horror duckling found its family of ducks in the end instead of resorting to violence. But then again, that family was ruthless, so who's to say? I feel like the lessons we can take away from these analog horror fairy tales is definitely to not go out into the woods alone, and to not bully the ever-living shit out of people, because that person may come back to violently murder your family. But on that note, I hope you enjoyed all that we had to cover today. Be sure to keep on leaving me recommendations down below, whether it be in the YouTube comments or the community Discord where, just like the wolf, I'm always somewhere about. But if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go tell these new fairy tale renditions to my kids.